Oh my god.
How did I get here?
The end.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Party Knife Glitch Guide tutorial. Now, in the last episode on the pit, I asked you guys to vote which map you would prefer that I do next, and the winner was Against the Grain, closely followed by Engines of War. Although, admittedly, there were 5 kinda shady votes that were posted at identical times, all of which just stated Against the Grain and nothing else. So I decided to simply start production on both of them. But I'm only about halfway on the engines video, as it's a lot more complicated than this skip. And since this is the 10th episode of the Glitch Guide series, I added a bonus glitch at the very end. So stay tuned for that. But anyways, let's get to business. Now, as you might have noticed, I'm already outside the map. This is a super easy teleport, but it's not that useful, and I'll get to why momentarily. You can see here, you can also do it on the opposite side. And just in case you're wondering where all the grain has gone in Against the Grain, I simply put all of the stuff in the map to 0% in order to increase visibility and make it easier to orientate you. But yeah, as you can see, getting outside the map, well, that's no biggie. But a little bit further up ahead, you're gonna encounter an invisible wall. Now, as far as I know, you cannot teleport through this wall, and it's not for lack of trying. You can, however, somehow nudge yourself through at random locations and at random times. It's a weird mechanic. It's the same thing I showed in my very first glitch guide, actually, was on this map. And it's essentially the same skip we're gonna do, although we're gonna use a different and better entry point. Plus a couple of optimizations for the run, as well as better editing. Yay! Now, in the first glitch guide, I basically used a different entry point to get to this exact spot. And I ran all the way up to the wall that we're gonna hit momentarily. And I basically just told people to keep trying. Like, I didn't have a better strategy. And it was super fucking frustrating, as you'll see. Because it's like there's an invis wall. And sometimes you go through it in 2 seconds. Sometimes you won't go through in 5 minutes. And normally I'd be like, oh well, you just have to do the right jump at the right location. But literally every single time I've tried this, all the way back from the first glitch guide and still now, it seems completely random where you go through the wall and how I was moving when I went through the wall. Because I have the recordings and I've been looking through them, and there was like absolutely no red thread to how the fuck you could get through this invis wall. Sometimes you would just suddenly pop through it, which I did eventually. After like a couple of minutes of just trying random spots, which I decided to fast forward through for the sake of your sanity, although I opted not to skip it entirely, just so you could see that I've literally been trying for minutes. And then suddenly, out of the blue, just walking here and jumping a little bit, and suddenly, just out of nowhere, you go through. And guess what happens if you go back and try at the exact same spot in the exact same way? Nothing happens. I mean, at some point it will, but not through any series of logical steps of progression that I could figure out, at least. And I hate inconsistency and unreliability, so I decided to simply say screw it, cut out the middleman, and opt for a third skip entirely, which we're gonna run now. Also, if you like these glitch guides and you haven't already, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. And if you didn't know it, every time you hit the notification bell, Renald donates a loot rat to a random quick play game. Yeah, it's true. And you know what else? You're not gonna believe this, but every time you hit the like button, Bardian actually shrinks by 1 centimeter. Yeah, this unique combination of factors allows you to not just troll the team, but feel good about yourself for giving to charity at the same time. It's amazing! But no, for real though, every bit of support helps and is much appreciated. Now, glitch guide wise, I'm only gonna show you the full run once, because it is quite a far run, and it's fairly straightforward. Like, there's not too much complicated stuff along the way. Now, you definitely want to make sure you check for items first, and should you be lucky enough to find either a speed or a conch pot, you want to save it for the end event. Now, you can pick up a tome on the way if you wish to do so. Oh wait, did I just hear... Oh, someone subscribed! Thank you very much, my friend. What? Only 1 loot die? I'll take it back, you cheap motherfucker. Kidding. Now, one great thing this skip has going for it is that it's not obstructed by any boss walls whatsoever, which is very, very practical. Now, thankfully the entry teleport is really easy, so you are able to rush it. most of the time. Like, if it's your first time doing it, I do suggest clearing everything out just to visualize where the teleport is. As you can see here, I actually fucked it up on the first attempt, but I was able to salvage it on the second teleport. Now, just before we continue with the run, I just thought I'd show you the best strategy for doing it. Now, as I mentioned, it's not hard to get the circle to go where it needs to go, but the easiest thing to do, which is what I couldn't do because there were too many minions, is actually follow the trail of water on the ground, since it happens to align you neatly with the best angle for actually getting the teleport through. Now, you don't have to be perfect about the angle. As you can see, it can be done from like either side, but the entry points are fewer and further between. And honestly, assuming there aren't too many minions blocking your path, you can really just jump down, follow the path, and activate the teleport while looking slightly upwards. Then you don't even really have to aim it that much. Like, it's gonna click into place all on its own, assuming you just have a running start. And right about here, you simply just look. Like, there you go. But let's resume our previous run, catching off right where we left off. Now, as soon as you're on this side of the fence and you moved like a couple of meters away from the fence, then you're completely safe from minions. Like, the only thing that could get you here would potentially be a really distant assassin, very precise and distant assassin jump. But assuming that doesn't happen, you simply move around the rock, and once you reach this area, the next couple of minutes are really nothing to worry about. You're just gonna run through some beautiful terrain that I kind of ruined, admittedly, by removing all of the grain, but hopefully it serves the purpose of increasing your spatial orientation or something. Not that it's that important. There's literally only one direction to go. You have the map on the right side, so assuming you're not very confused, then sooner or later you should reach this area here. It doesn't matter if you move a little bit to the left, like it doesn't have to be precise, which is why this is in a lot of ways a pretty chill skip actually. And as you can see there, you have the huge tree on top of the hill coming up on the right side, and we're slowly but surely moving down towards the barn with the boss spawn, which again, thankfully, we don't have to worry about at all. Now, follow the path down to the lake, although you want to be a little bit careful. Like, the water here isn't gonna kill you if you touch it, but if you get too far out, it will. As you might know, if you jump down from up there, there's an instant kill trigger of the invisible kind, which is the most amazing kind, since it's entirely and completely 100% undetectable. So what I suggest you do is run all the way past this island. Admittedly, it's not necessary to go this far, and I could theoretically have cut the corner a little bit earlier, but I feel like for your first run at least, it's a much better idea to have a 10 feet distance to the invisible thing that's gonna kill you if you touch it, rather than, 1 feet. But you should be safe once you're past the island. Now, just to give you guys a better idea of where we are, where we came from, and where we're going, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an aerial view. Now, that's where we came from over there, and then you followed the ridge all the way down here, sticking to the shallows all the way past the island here. Then you make a right turn on the island, and slowly move towards that edge over there, which is where we're going to be momentarily, and the idea is to go all the way down there. Now, one super important thing, which, as it happens, you can also troll your friends with, assuming that you show them the glitch. Whatever you do, do not crouch while in the water. If you do, you're not going to be able to uncrouch or stand back up, and you're going to be in this super slow-paced movement, which you're going to have to endure all the way to the edge, which, depending on your location, like if you do it in the middle of the lake, it could take several minutes, at least a couple. So do not click control. Now, once we reach the bank here, we're sort of in the final stage of the glitch before we get to the end event, and it's not really too important precisely where you go back on land. But once you do, you want to be a little bit careful just for this little bit here, because you're going to pass the third tome, which, although very rarely an issue, does contain a small window from which minions can screw you over. Now, speaking of things that can screw you over, I quite accidentally discovered this little spot here that's gonna prevent you from moving and sustaining you in a constant state of freefall, also preventing you from using your teleport. And prior to this run, I wasn't aware of that spot being an issue, but I thought it was an honorable addition to the guide, and thankfully being on the modded realm, it didn't really matter much. So note to self, avoid the spot of death, and then continue moving up the rocks here. And although it doesn't apply to all the water, a good rule of thumb is, if you see water, just don't touch it, because there's always going to be a chance that it's one of those spots in the water with a drop dead and ask questions later mechanic. And it really would be a shame to come all this way right before the end event and then simply just drop dead because you accidentally touched some water. I did, however, decide to test this pool on my right side, and it's good to go, so you don't have to avoid it. But assuming you manage to avoid all of the dihydrogen monoxide of death, you should eventually reach this fence that you simply follow a little bit further down towards the windmill, pretty much leading straight into our re-entry spot, which thankfully doesn't require any teleports and have a couple of boxes neatly put there, almost as if Fat Shark wanted us to do it. Now, one thing you can do to make things a little bit easier on yourself, especially if you're running something like a really difficult deed, is move up to the re-entry spot like I just did, and then simply move back and watch as all of the minions are going to be stuck behind an invisible wall that they can't cross. Now, this doesn't clear any of the actual event spawns, but if you're playing a deed with something like Vanguard and double damage or perhaps extra specials, it can significantly improve your initial conditions and hopefully prevent you from getting overwhelmed too quickly. But once you're ready and good to go, you simply jump up here, and once you start moving here, there's no stopping. Now, the key to success here, aside from just pure proper mechanical movement, is firstly knowing, planning and visualizing the route you plan to take before starting the run. This includes knowing the exact order in which you're gonna rescue the prisoners, and secondly, knowing when you should, or more importantly, when you shouldn't use your ulti, so you have it ready for the two crucial areas where you can easily find yourself getting stuck. The first of which is this area right here. Now, you don't want to bother resting anyone. Now, I strongly recommend that you take this path here and open up the cages in the following order. Now, if you need to use your teleport, then do so, because getting stuck down there for too long is definitely a death sentence. Now, once you get up here, there will be a special trigger, so be aware in case it's an assassin or a strangler. Just pop these two cages as quickly as you possibly can, and constantly try to stay ahead of the minion spawn, because otherwise they're gonna swarm you, potentially forcing you to use your teleport just to get up the ladder, which can be a death sentence in of itself, as you more often than not need the last teleport once you get down here in order to open the cages and get up the ladder without getting stuck, which is easier said than done if this is your first time trying to solo run the end event. Now, the last really dangerous part is right here. This ladder is often gonna be a huge issue, but if you do manage to get safely up, then you simply pop the last two cages and you're good to go. Now, admittedly, this last bit does take a little bit of practice, but once it all starts to make sense and everything is clicked into place, you can actually really consistently run even things like double Emperor deeds with something like an 80 to 90% success rate without godlike solo skills, simply by following this strategy methodically and avoiding any major screw-ups, which is obviously easier said than done. And although I can only speak for myself in terms of my own experience, but any all-or-nothing scenarios such as this that allow you the luxury of taking your time and clearly visualizing which path you're gonna take in first person all the way from start to finish, including things like the specific order in which you plan to do all of the objectives, and perhaps even going as far as planning when and where you're going to use your career ability. Now, at first this might sound crazy, but this isn't a follow the plan or die trying scenario. In fact, it's the exact opposite. The idea, rather, is to have a sort of subconscious framework in which you've already made up your mind and predetermined what you're going to do in every single scenario that isn't forcing you to deviate from your base strategy. In other words, as long as your previously determined path is among the somewhat viable options, you simply stick to it, which removes something like 90% of all the decisions you would otherwise have to make during the run, which frees up cognition space, and as well as removing the need to be in a constant state of multitasking, which I think could easily overwhelm someone who's new at solo running. In other words, this is a great example of how just a little bit of planning can make a Cataclysm solo run seem almost uninteresting. But most important of all of this can be achieved without requiring the reaction times of a 14-year-old Tetris playing, hyper-Korean Counter-Strike prodigy, damn near Jedi level mastering, AP carrying Challenger 1 solo mid player. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Except this is the 10th episode, which I think does call for a little bit of extra glazing on the cake. And if you recall, at the very beginning of this video, I asked a very simple question, meant to tickle your curiosity and pique your interest. Or, you know, in English, I tried to bait your attention, let's be real. And under the assumption that you're still here, let's also assume that it worked. Now, it is for that exact same reason that you want to know this glitch. What the fuck am I going on about? Well, Let's just say I can think of very few things in this game with a jaw-dropping effect anywhere near this glitch. And especially in quick, you can be damn sure your entire team is gonna be like, wait, what? What just happened? Wait, how the fuck did he get up there? And to make it even better, as if it was possible, my entire team eventually died, which really added to the whole spectacle of things. Now, it works with any hero and requires nothing but a small curve jump at the very beginning of Athelion Louis. Although if you really want to have fun with it, then I do suggest getting either a Slayer, a Zealot, a Handmaiden, or of course a Battle Wizard. Now, there is more to this glitch than just the part I'm going to show you now, but there's no doubt in my mind that this is definitely the best part. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
I'll set that hook rat ablaze.
I don't want burning to a quick, so kill that warp fire thrower. Now don't get carried away. Plenty more to...
And I mean, come on. You also gotta admit, this is probably one of the best views in the entire game. Oh, you know what would be amazing? Getting a Zealot and then waiting for your entire team to be in like the crevasse and just suddenly out of the blue using your ulti and passive to survive and just casually drop down from the sky right in front of your entire team. Oh, and even better, for maximum confusion, just instantly resume normal play as if nothing out of the ordinary had happened whatsoever. And proceed to watch the spectacle as all of your teammates experience error 303, cannot compute, brain meltdown imminent, only to watch the entire thing go in reverse once they realize that all of them actually saw you drop down. God, I just convinced myself I have to try that.
Assassin rat dead.
It's gonna be legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
A magic leash. That's what I'll put on them.
And if you're left wondering, wait, what was the point of this glitch again? I don't think I get it. How was this gonna help me farm red items again? And the answer to that is, well, no idea. But you can be damn sure this is gonna increase the amount of incoming friend requests you're gonna receive. The value of this glitch cannot be measured in red items obtained. It's a gift that just keeps on giving. It's more like a map-specific and fully reusable mind-blow effect for your quick play teams. And trust me, it works every fucking time. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys this time. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, whatever you do, don't forget to throw your vote to determine the mission pick for the next episode of the Glitch Guide series. Engines of War, Hail Scourge, the War Camp, and Fort Braxtonbrugge. The choice is yours, my friend. And as always, I love you guys. Stay awesome. Peace out.